I know most of us have plenty of scrapbook paper in our collection, probably all kinds of different papers, and I decided that I would use some of the scrapbook paper, and I came up with a few ideas and I just thought I'd share them with you. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of your standard envelopes. I don't know how picky the post office is about sizes, but I just kind of measured that out and then went ahead and cut my paper accordingly. So I'm just taking my 12 by 12 paper and I'm going to fold it in half. And then based on those measurements of that other envelope, I'm just going to go ahead and trim with my paper cutter. I'm going to go ahead and just trim down the piece of scrapbook paper. And then I'm going to save this large scrap because I'm going to show you something we can do with this later. And so now I just have my folded piece of scrapbook paper that's about the same size as this envelope. I suppose you could go smaller. I mean, there are smaller envelopes, but I didn't want to go too much larger than that in case the cost would be more from the post office, because you know how they have different price ranges for different sizes. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get out my sewing machine. And my sewing machine, turn it on. I just have red thread in here, so I'm just going to go ahead and keep that color in there, but you could use any color that you want. All right, hopefully the light is good here. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the folded corner down here because I'm not going to stitch the folded side, so I'm just going to start here, and I just have a straight stitch set, and I'm just going to kind of move the paper a little bit just to give it a curve. And I'm also going to, as I start, I'm going to back up on the stitch just to make sure that it's a little bit secure and the thread doesn't pop out or pull when it's being mailed. So I'm just going to start stitching, and then I'm going to do the backup as I mentioned, just to give it some extra. And then I'm just going to kind of turn the paper as I'm going, just so that the stitch is curved. It just looks a little bit better. I'm certainly not an expert when it comes to sewing. And then I'm going to lift the needle up and turn the paper, and then continue on the other side. As I said, just kind of curving the paper as I go so that the stitch isn't just completely straight, although you could do that. And if you have a sewing machine that has different stitch settings, you can actually do some pretty nice things. And then once I get to this end, once again, I'm going to just do a little bit of a backup, and then I'm finished with that part. And so I'm just going to trim my thread. And so now we have a piece that's stitched on one side here, on the other side that was folded, and I've left the opening here obviously so I can put the mail inside. And I do have something that I'm going to be mailing, so I'm going to go ahead and put that inside my envelope. And then that way I can show you how I'm going to stitch up the other end. Okay, so now my piece is inside my envelope. And I'm going to go ahead and fold. I'll do this right here so you can see it. I'm going to fold that opened edge down a little bit. And I can do this because the contents don't fit the whole envelope. I suppose if it did, you could just stitch it up without folding it, but I'm going to go ahead and fold mine. Now, the other fun thing, and I'm going to move the sewing machine out of the way a second, is just going and grabbing any ribbons or anything that you maybe have in your collection. I didn't even worry about things matching all that much. This one actually you can see a little bit better when I stitch it, so I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece of this off about the width and a little bit longer so that it will fit across the fold like that. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the sewing machine. And I didn't glue it down or pin it or anything. I just kind of held it in place. I'm just going to place it on there. And on this one, I'm just going to do a straight stitch. Again, I'm going to do the backup to make sure that it's doesn't come loose. Probably wouldn't as much maybe on the ribbon as it would on the paper. And I'm just going to stitch all the way down. And this will close the flap and just make it look a little bit nicer, I think. And again, I'm going to back up at the end. And then we're finished with that, and I'm going to pull it out and go ahead and trim it. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim off the excess here. I'm not sure if the post office would like that. If they allow it, I would just leave it on there, but I'm gonna go ahead and just trim off a little bit of the extra of that ribbon there. Now let me show you some ideas I had for actually addressing the mail art. I found these, which I love. I think I got these at Joann's Fabric. I'm not sure exactly where. They're by Color Bach. They're called journal punch outs, and they're alphabets. Like each sheet has all the different letters on it. And I thought these were great to use for address labels. Here's what they actually look like once they're punched out. And this one's just got the A on it. And I just really like the way they look, and they're colorful and they're all different, but you could actually make these yourself. So what I did was I cut out a piece of cardstock from one of my scrapbook papers, about the same size. They can be any size really. And then I thought you could just use a rub-on letter to put on the package, and then you would have your letter, whatever letter you need for the name. So I think let's do a big one here. So all you want to do is just cut out your rub-on letter. And then you just go ahead and peel the backing off. If you've never used these, they're very cool. And then just put the letter onto the card stock or to the scrapbook paper, and then just use the little stick that comes with it to actually rub it on. And so now you have your return or your label, and you can just fill in the address. And what I like to do is, if the name is, say, Paula, I would just do the rest of her name and then the address, and not actually write the P. I just like the way that looks. So they kind of look similar, but you can kind of create your own. So that's one thing that you can do to do something kind of different. Now, I have just found these at Michael's. I love these. I've used most of them up, so I don't have a whole lot to show you. But these are from Martha Stewart Crafts, and they're just labels, and they come in these little containers. I like them because they're embossed along the edges. It's probably really hard to see that in the video, and they do peel and stick. And I've been using these as return labels with my address on them to put those on the packages. I just like the way they look, and I think they come in white also. Thanks for watching. Bye.